I think some fans have come to the conclusion that, right, well, we've got our upgrade, so that's the goalkeeper position sorted for the next 10, 15 years. And while I don't object to that at all, I'd be fine with that so long as he continues to keep up these levels. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about Vitek potentially having a ceiling that could, lead to him competing with Loanees for that starting position.
Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is Academy Review. Joining me as always is Mr. Academy Scoop himself. Finn, how are we doing?
Yeah, very good. We've been meaning to do a little loan review for a little while now, so I'm excited to get into this one. Yeah,
because obviously it's international break, there isn't as many games, and we are, like you said, we've been talking about this for a while, and it does seem like there's a lot happening with the... Is it... loanees, is that what we call players that we've loaned out?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, because I always get confused whether loanees are like players you loan in or loan out, or is it both? We're going to get into all that. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe and following Finn Academy Scoop on all your socials. Right, where do you want to start?
Well, I think it's worth just first pointing out that a little bit of change happened in the summer in terms of our loan system. Jonny Evans obviously retired.
Legend.
What a man, what a legend. He is now United's head of loans and pathways. So he's overseeing loan destinations, making sure that the clubs are a good fit for these young players, making sure that it suits their kind of developmental trajectory, and also maintaining conversations with coaches at these clubs, with the players, with their representatives, to make sure that everyone is happy and continuing to make good progress. And so I think what we can notice already is that a lot of players are benefiting from some good decisions made. The first of which I think we should talk about Harry Amass. One of the bigger successes so far this season. Obviously it's still early days in the season, but he kind of stands out as someone that's done really well. And obviously he's someone we watched in the academy for a few seasons. Signed him
friend of the channel, he's been on the channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Signed him from Watford when he was 15, was very highly rated then and obviously still is now. Was instrumental to a fair bit of silverware while playing for United's under-18s under Adam Lawrence, won the domestic treble. So he's made fantastic progress. In the summer, joined Sheffield Wednesday, a 4-month loan. Obviously, it's a bit of a difficult one with Sheffield Wednesday. They've got a lot of difficulties happening off the field. Went into administration in October. There's ownership problems, cash flow issues. Not a good time for the club.
You know what? It does sadden me, this. Like, obviously I'm not a Sheffield Wednesday fan, but as a football fan, and Sheffield Wednesday are a historic club. My favourite Premier League game ever was when Manchester United beat Sheffield Wednesday when I was a kid. I remember watching that, 2 late Steve Bruce goals to help us win our first Premier League title. And it's sad when you see clubs just getting mismanaged, misowned. Something we can relate to as United fans. I know we're not in administration, but we know about bad owners who don't care about the club. So it does sadden me to see that and how they're struggling.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think it even went as far as them not being able to pay their staff and players for several months, which should never be happening. But despite that, on the flip side, Harry Amass has enjoyed a really, really fantastic start to the season there. He seems to have settled right in. He's become a bit of a fan favourite, and he's been performing very well. So he's made 11 appearances in the Championship, which is a fantastic level of football to be playing at. I'd argue outside of the top 5 big leagues, maybe alongside the Portuguese league. It's one of the most competitive and difficult leagues to play in, and we know that it's got a really good translation rate from the Championship to the Premier League in terms of kind of successful transitions there. So really, really impressive that he's playing well at that level, seeing that it's his first season playing senior football, just come out of the under-21s for United, and he's made that step up almost effortlessly. So he started in all 11 of those appearances. He got his first goal recently against Southampton. Fantastic goal, dribbled through the middle of the park, struck the ball with his left foot from range into the bottom right corner. And I think it was a good kind of sign of the progress that he's made. I've seen Sheffield Wednesday fans on social media. There was one who asked for a bet builder on when he's going to be involved in the England senior team. So they're really, really enjoying watching him play. And it's the same stuff that we saw from him in the academy, the technical ability and the maturity that he shows on the ball in terms of keeping hold of it, taking men on, keeping hold of possession and really being a kind of creative outlet in the final third. Also defensively, despite not being, a huge physical presence, he's, quite short, but he uses his body well, and I think that's something he's continuing to improve at and has done this season against senior opposition. He's engaging in duels well, knows how to fend off contact and keep hold of the ball. So yeah, he's making fantastic progress. He ranks this season in the top 1% of Championship fullbacks when it comes to ball recoveries at 6.79 and successful take-ons at 1.4 per 90. That's according to Statman Dave on Twitter. So, you know, in almost every way that you look at it, he's doing really well.
Yeah, look, we do like Harry Amass. Like I said, we spoke to him on tour. I think it's just over a year ago. Very good attitude, very good mindset. Was self-critical at one point as well. You know, admitted that some of his performances when he first played a few friendlies weren't as good as he can be, and then he progressed and did well. The question for me, and I'm not alone in this with him, it hasn't been about his ability; it's about his physicality. Can he work in a Ruben Amorim team in the Premier League? Does he have even things like the height? That is a question we've seen that has become a little bit of an issue of late in Manchester United. Remember Ahmad getting beat at the far post against Forest. Like, with Amass, he's such a short player. Yeah. Does he have the pace and the height to be a Manchester United player, especially under Ruben Amorim? What do you make of that sort of question? Do you think it's one that's troubled you at all?
It's difficult, and it's obviously not something he can really change, which is the frustrating thing.
No, it's not a criticism of him in any way, shape or form, because that'd be insane, but you're right.
Absolutely, and yeah, that is the difficult part of it, is that it's not necessarily something he can work on. I think obviously he can compensate for that in other ways, in terms of, you know, improving in aerial duels and just generally in terms of how he uses his body. But we know that Amorim wants his wing backs to probably be the two most athletic players on the field, maybe alongside the midfielders. They need to be able to cover a lot of ground up and down the wings, have a great engine, and, you know, ideally, top level speed. Amass, he's not slow, but he's, you know, obviously not rapid, and so, you know, there may be difficulties there. One thing that's encouraging is that under Pedersen for Sheffield Wednesday, they play a 3-4-3 predominantly. He's been playing as a left wing back in most of their games, so there's, you know, an encouraging sign. Obviously, not to suggest that any 3-4-3 is the same. We've spoken about that a lot this season, that just because you play the same shape or formation, it doesn't mean you're playing the same system. But for him to be playing as a wing back, having a lot of usage high up the pitch, high and wide, I think it bodes well. So yeah, it's quite hard to say how that will ultimately translate for him in terms of if he can push on and eventually become a starting wing back for United under someone like Ruben Amorim. But right now, what you can say is that he's doing really well. His manager Pedersen did say, the young man who came into Sheffield Wednesday and the young man who just left the stadium today, this was after he scored his goal against Southampton, are two different humans and two different players. He said his progression's been amazing. This week against West Brom, against Norwich and against Southampton, he showed against three good teams that he can compete with them. So, you know, I think there are really, really, really good signs there. Against difficult opposition, he's making an impact and really, really making good progress. So hopefully we see that continue.
Yeah, I mean, the Championship is usually a good barometer of where players are up to, and also giving him that sort of tough academy or apprenticeship, if you will, I should say, into professional football. And you look at some of the players we've had in the past, and the obvious one who did well in the Championship was Ahmad. I mentioned him earlier, who went to Sunderland after a loan spell at Rangers as well, went to Sunderland, smashed it. And there was question marks about Ahmad as well. People thinking, have we overspent on him? Is he really that good? Is he physically enough, ready enough for the Premier League? And that helps him. That helps him prepare. So he's certainly doing all the right things in it, Harry Amass. It'll be interesting to see whether that can translate to a successful career at Manchester United. Either way, you can imagine him having a very good career.
I think regardless of if it's at Manchester United, he's going to have a top career.
He's sort of his ability, his talent, and also his mindset is sort of guarantee him to have a really good career. And I hope it is at United, because I like what I see from him, and that aggressiveness, that front footness, that sort of attacking mindfulness
he's got a good aggression to his game as well.
I like it as well. And it's not and he channels it in the right way, doesn't he? And that's impressive.
Also, what you mentioned about the fact that he's quite self-critical, I think, is a really, really good sign to see in a young player.
Yeah, we spoke to him, and I think it was Steve spoke to him, and he's having a chat with him, and I think he played against Rangers and maybe Arsenal and Liverpool, maybe. I can't remember the exact fixtures. And he said it at one point, he said, my game against, I think it might be Rangers, or he mentioned a game where he said it wasn't my best. Yeah. And that's sort of.
And then he went on to have a great game against Arsenal, didn't he?
Usually, young player getting into the United first team in a friendly, you just be like, sort of, almost trying to give yourself good PR, and then he was just chatting with Steve, so relaxed, and just chatting with him. And then at one point, Steve's like, "Do you want to have a chat with us on camera?" And he did. And and spoke really well. And then I think he gave an interview with the papers as well. And you could see, look, in terms of his mindset, we talk about that a lot with young players, don't we? He's got all that. He's got the talent. And it'd be almost like a bit cruel if it was just something he can't control, like that stopped him progressing. Like he's just probably not tall or quite quick enough.
And that's the unfortunate truth for a lot of players. It's really frustrating.
I think we're seeing a little bit of that, aren't we, with Kobbie Mainoo, in the sense that the reasons that he's perhaps not in the United team is nothing that is his own fault.
No, it's just, I think by all means his application is fantastic. You know, Amorim's never had a problem with his application in training. It's the physical qualities.
Has he quite got the legs to be the midfielder that Amorim wants, and that's not his fault. And maybe there's a touch of that with Harry Amass, but not to give up on him. Like you said, Finn, great to hear that he's doing really well. Keep seeing clips of him, and I follow a couple of Sheffield Wednesday accounts, absolutely waxing lyrical about him. And long may that continue. There's another player that's been getting some good headlines as well, a goalkeeper you want to talk about.
Another player playing in the Championship, Radek Vitek, really, really highly rated goalkeeper. Worth noting, which kind of goes under the radar, that he won the FA Youth Cup with United in that same team as the likes of Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo, obviously, and a few other players who are kind of beginning to rise to prominence. Obviously, Mainoo and Garnacho broke into United's team straight after that win, but often what you see is a few years later you get a few more players coming through, and it looks like Radek Vitek is going to be one of those. He transferred to Bristol City on a season-long loan this summer, and really just hit the ground running. He started every game, 15 appearances, 15 starts, 15 full 90 minutes in the Championship, conceded 18 goals and kept 5 clean sheets, which is an all right rate, but I think sometimes for a goalkeeper you can look past. I think for me those are team stats, not individual stats.
You couldn't be more. I couldn't agree with you more, bro, because it's like, you know, go back to De Gea's last season where he had more clean sheets than anyone. Yeah. So on paper you go in, well, surely he's the best goalkeeper then. Why would you let him go? Yeah. Well, if he scratches beneath the surface, it doesn't tell the full story. So I get where you're coming from on that front. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he came right in and won Bristol's fan-voted Player of the Month award in August. He ranks very highly in terms of crosses stopped and goals prevented per 90. He's in the top 2 or 3 in the Championship amongst all goalkeepers, regardless of age, even though he's just 21. And he's also statistically faced some of the hardest shots. That I don't know how they work that out, but in terms of shots, it's mad, you know, when I was your age or even younger, you didn't have any of these stats. Not to sound like a proper dinosaur, but you just didn't.
We didn't have XG back in
my day. No, you didn't. Yeah. And now you can really get into the numbers, which I know you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I think you have to take them with a pinch of salt. But when the eye test backs up what you're seeing in the numbers, when they go hand in hand, I think it's a positive sign, and you have to take it as a positive, because at the end of the day, it can't be a bad thing if you're ranking highly in these key metrics, especially when contextualised in the right way. And in Vitek's case, they definitely play into his favour. But yeah, like I said, the eye test really supports what you see in the numbers. He's such a physical presence. I mean, he's 6'5", absolute giant, but uses his body well. He's very agile. He can get down to low shots when he needs to. Right. Fantastic when it comes to reflex saves.
That's good.
Yeah, makes a lot of really impressive kind of double saves in quick succession and that kind of thing. There was one earlier in the season where he dropped an arm to save the ball on the line, and it was one of those saves where you think, how on earth has he done that? So yeah, he's one of those players who can do the flashy stuff as a goalkeeper that looks good on camera, but he's also very reliable. He's got a cool head, communicates well, doesn't kind of crumble under pressure, and he commands his box really well in the air. Great at stopping crosses. He does the lot, to be honest. A lot of the traits that you're looking for in a top modern goalkeeper. Don't want to sound like I'm going overboard, but Bristol City fans have echoed a lot of these sentiments that he's making great progress. So yeah, really good to see.
Yeah, more than stats and XG or any of that, I think a great sort of way to know how well a player is doing is just to hear what the fans are saying about him. And if he's getting voted Player of the Month by the fans, if the fans are waxing lyrical about him and praising him, and especially a goalkeeper where it's an unforgiving position, you can have a game as a striker where you might have a quiet game and get a goal and everyone raves about you. If you're a goalkeeper, you have to be pretty almost exemplary to have the fans on board. Otherwise, they're going to start questioning. You certainly won't be voting you their best player if you're not doing well. And he obviously is. And you answered one of my questions that I had was about when I see a goalkeeper is 6'5". I know it's a basic argument, but he's almost too tall for a goalkeeper because he's got to get down low. And you've just answered that. His reflexes and his ability to get down low is just what you need from a goalkeeper. And just before we were about to record, we were talking about the sort of the angle of the video and everything, and I almost dismissed the idea of him being United's first choice because of Senna Lomans and what he's doing. Yeah. And I was like, well, we don't really need to go. But you were like, actually, there's a case being made that Vitek could be United's number one over the next year or two, or whenever that may be.
I think it's definitely worth having the conversation. Obviously, I'm so impressed by what I've seen from Senna Lomans. He's been a revelation for United this season. We've so desperately needed a reliable goalkeeper, and he's obviously such an upgrade on what we've had in the past few seasons. So couldn't be more happy with what he's done. But at the same time, I think some fans have come to the conclusion that, right, well, we've got our upgrade, so that's the goalkeeper position sorted for the next 10, 15 years. And while I don't object to that at all, I'd be fine with that so long as he continues to keep up these levels. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about Vitek potentially having a ceiling that could, lead to him competing with Lomans for that starting position. I've spoken to some people who know far more about me in terms of goalkeeping, people who have worked in, Category 1 academies, who are incredibly impressed, by what they see from Vitek, who say that, he's 21, by the way, playing in the Championship as a goalkeeper, which is incredibly impressive. No, it is. Already got 2 seasons of loans under his belt playing first team football, so really impressive. But these people are saying, he definitely has the ability later down the line to push Lomans and potentially be United's starting keeper. I mean, he's having conversations with United's goalkeeping coach. He mentioned in an interview this week. So there's a constant back and forth there and a dialogue there to assess the plan for the future. He's also just signed a new contract to keep him at the club until 2028 before he went on his loan to Bristol City. So the club definitely have him in his plans, in their plans, see him as an important player for the future. And I think later down the line we might be having the conversation as to who United's long-term starting goalkeeper might be. And it's a great dilemma to have. To, going from our goalkeepers being arguably the worst position in the squad to having 2 very, very high potential young goalkeepers there, I think it's a good problem.
It's a complete 180.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like who's the least worst a few weeks ago, wasn't it? It was like, well, Bayindir's having a stinker, but can you trust Onana? And then after the Grimsby game, it was like, well, you can't trust Onana, but Bayindir's not the one. But what are you going to do? Yeah. Whereas now we're in a position where we've got a very good goalkeeper who's sort of smashed it since he's come in Senna Lomans, and now you've got someone else who's doing very well, and they're both very young. Yeah. So it's like you just mentioned there, a good position to be in, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of Radek Vitek in the near future. You want to talk a little bit about Kana-Biyik?
Yes, Enzo Kana-Biyik. A little bit less of a kind of full season that he's had because he struggled with a couple of injuries, but there was a lot of talk about him in the summer. Signed to United and then loaned straight to Lausanne as part of Ineos's kind of multi-club developmental network. Very highly rated French striker.
There's a sentence you don't hear all the time, but well done.
Well, signed from Le Havre in the summer. Very highly rated in the French setup. Back in October, he scored against the Netherlands and Switzerland's under 19s. So we know how stacked France's youth setup is. To be starting these games and scoring is a really, really positive sign. He's made 10 appearances for Lausanne this season, 9 in the Swiss Super League, and he's only scored 1 goal, which came recently. It was kind of just a standard finish in the middle of the box. Had the ball squared to him and he finished first time. But in terms of his overall performances, there have been some very good signs. He's a good physical presence. I believe he's something like 6'2", 6'3", quite tall, uses his body well, but he's also technically gifted, keeps hold of the ball well, can link up with teammates well. So really early days, and he's expected probably to go out on another loan next summer, although his performances up until then could change how he's viewed in terms of Ruben Amorim's longer term plans. You never know, things can change very quickly. But good to see him continue to make some progress, and good to see United making use of a multi-club network, because I think we're behind a lot of other top clubs in that aspect.
No, definitely. And we have to remember, look, you've seen players before at this age who you look at him and you go, is he really good enough? Or
especially strikers, I think.
Strikers, and then they go on and think that the body develops, the game develops when they get to 18, 19, 20. It's not a case of just giving up on players when they hit the 20s. And we've seen that a few times, like you say rightly, with strikers. Everyone thinks that you're going to have the next Michael Owen or Erling Haaland who's just smashing it from like 17, 18. It's not often the case with strikers. So this lad's obviously got a lot of talent. It's good that United is handling him in the right way. Long may it continue. I think there's another couple of players you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think we'll touch quickly on Jack Moorhouse as well. He's another one of the standout loanees, I'd say, so far this season. He joined Leyton Orient in the summer after a really good season for United's under-21s. We spoke about him a lot last season. Definitely one of the standout under-21 players after a few years of really struggling with injury, so that's brilliant to see. He's made 14 appearances across the League One and EFL Trophy for Leyton Orient. He's got one goal in those appearances, and it was a very nice finish with his left foot. The thing that we always talk about with him is his ball carrying. That's kind of the standout. He's one of these modern attacking midfielders who loves to drive with the ball through the middle of the pitch. Leyton Orient fans have pointed out how impressed they are by him and his ball carrying ability. And yeah, he's had a slower few recent weeks, making a few 15, 20-minute appearances off the bench. Hopefully that improves as the season goes on. But I think a lot of people feel that he's another one that has the potential to kick on from this loan, whether that's at Manchester United, I think it's possible, or at least at a decent level. So really happy with the progress he's making as well. Yeah,
it's good. I'm glad you mentioned Jack Moorhouse and what's happening with him, because he was a player we spoke about a lot last season. Obviously a very exciting talent, and another one I think you can file under let's wait and see, because he's still young.
Yeah, he's
getting those minutes. He's getting that sort of introduction into a tough league and professional football, and we'll see just where the future takes him, because it's too soon to tell, really.
I think for him, one of the things that he could work on, I think with Moorhouse, because of the power that he possesses when running with the ball, his game's a little bit heavy metal. It's a little bit all or nothing. Right. You know what I mean? He picks up the ball and his first thought is to bomb forward and make something happen, which is great to see in a young player. But also I think what can take his game to another level is working in some of the finer details, knowing when to maybe play it a little bit slower, maybe not to attempt to run the ball through the whole midfield. Usually it works because he's mint at it, but I think if he can kind of work on adding some more variety into his game, slowing it down a bit, then he can go up to the next level. Dimitri Mitchell, who is an ex-United Academy player.
Top lad, Dimitri. We're going to get him on Academy Review, by the way. You've been speaking to him. I spoke to him as well, because he was on More Than a Match with Opera and Damani, and I spoke to Dimitri when he was there, and he said he's going to come on Academy Review.
Hopefully when he's available in Manchester, we can make that happen. That'd be really good. But yeah, very vocal on social media, talks a lot about his experiences as a professional player, and he said... He put out a tweet saying, United fans, from what I've seen, I think Jack Moorhouse has a real chance. Obviously Dimitri Mitchell is now playing at Leyton Orient, trains with Jack Moorhouse regularly, so can see firsthand what he's about. So that's really good to hear from someone who's so close to him. So yeah, a lot of positive signs.
Yeah, this is what I mean. We've got to sort of be a little bit patient with some of these lads and look at the like you said, the positive signs that we're seeing from these loan spells. Last but by no means least, our favourite topic, or one of our favourite topics.
It wouldn't be Academy Review without talking about Shea Lacey. Just a small little detail on him. This week, he's been called up to train with England's under-21s by Lee Carsley, despite being actually playing with the England under-20s. It's interesting because we saw in October he was called up to play with the first team under Thomas Tuchel.
Got to show him what he's about, and they need an example to follow.
And it seems like every coach that he trains under or plays under just waxes lyrical about him and is really impressed and sees the same thing that us fans see in terms of him being just a supremely talented footballer. And as we continue to say this season, it really does feel like everything's coming together for him at a good time. It looks like things are definitely on the up for him. Obviously struggled with injuries for quite a while, but fingers crossed he's kind of past that. Lee Carsley said he's been in the pathway for a good amount of time now, and he's a player that we rate highly. I know he struggled with injuries in the past, which probably held him back, but I think it's also important we don't rush these players and we let them develop in their own time, which echoes a lot of what we say in the sense that we know that ability is the least of his worries. He's got the ability, the technical quality, and also the application to make it as a Manchester United player, just whether he can stay fit now and kick on. So
I hope more than anything he does, because like you mentioned so many times, and you couldn't be more right, he's got the talent.
Yep.
He's obviously got the mindset as well.
Good family around him as well.
Good family around him. A lot of them are Liverpool fans, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Raging, aren't they?
Been trying to turn him to their side.
That makes me love him even more.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Imagine being surrounded by Scousers and you're like, Liverpool fans, and you're like, play for United, mate. Yeah. And he could play for Liverpool if he wanted to, because he's that good. Look, Finn, always a pleasure chatting to you.
Absolutely.
It's good to hear that it seems as though things are being handled in the right way with these young players by Manchester United. That hasn't been the case. We've seen recently, I think Axel Tuanzebe, he's going some sort of litigation against the club because of how his injuries were handled. But it made me think about his loan spells and how up and down they were. And
I think there's been a lot of mismanagement.
Yeah, where they've gone like, was it him that went to, was it Napoli or somewhere he went to, where he got like 10 minutes or something in 6 months or whatever it was. And you just seen it with a few players where they've gone out on loan and barely played, and you're like...
One of them that comes to mind recently is Maxi Oyedele. Went to Forest Green, I think he made like one appearance. It was when Troy Deeney was their manager, and that was a complete mess.
I mean, that was a car crash from start to finish, wasn't it?
I don't think he made any more appearances that season when they got a new manager in, and now he's one of the most highly rated younger midfielders coming through, being looked at to be signed by a lot of top clubs. So, I've just made it. He's gone to Strasbourg now.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought, didn't we get like a few quid out of
Yeah. We got a little bit. But yeah, I think it's really important that the loans are managed properly, because otherwise you can miss out on, obviously there's the financial side of things, but you can miss out on having top players come through at your club because you haven't chosen the right loan, you haven't kind of planned that properly. Looks like we're doing that properly now with Jonny Evans leading that overview of how we develop these players, where we send them, how we continue to communicate with those clubs. It's looking good. Obviously we've got a few more, we haven't spoken about all the loanees today. Maybe we'll do another check-in later in the season. But yeah, really good to keep in check with them, I think.
Yeah, and you couldn't have a better person in charge of looking after loanees than Jonny Evans. Yeah, won a lot as a player, went on loan. I think it was Sunderland where he had a great loan move where he did really well for them. And obviously came back to United and smashed it. And he knows the club inside out. He knows these young players. He knows what it takes to succeed, and not just succeed at Manchester United as well. Jonny Evans, the brunt of his career wasn't at United, like most of his professional career, but he had a very successful time of it as well. So a lot of the loanees aren't going to play for United, but you want them to do well. You want the club to look after young players, because like you've always said, there's an attraction there and an appeal, and it's like an advert. There's an advert here. If you come to Manchester United, you're a young player, or you're a parent, you've got a good young player, bring them to Manchester United, because they'll get looked after, whether that is in the first team, or they end up at the first team Manchester United, which, again, you always say it, and you're right, there is a pathway there, or they end up having a top-level career. They will get nurtured in the right way, and it seems as though Manchester United are doing that with our loanees, who've obviously got bags of talent as well, and I look forward to seeing some of them, if not all of them, in the Manchester United first team at some point. Go and check out Finn, Academy Scoop, on all your socials. He's going to be back next week. He's got loads more vids as well. He's been doing podcasts, watch-alongs, even stood in for me on Paddock Live, and a lot of people said how they preferred him on Paddock Live, and how I think someone said Jay should be like the fine china. You just bring him out now and again. I think someone said for special occasions.
We should make a cardboard cutout of you and then bring you around for special occasions, Christmas.
All right, as long as I still get paid, that's fine by me. That's what I'm all about. Me, I'm a capitalist pig. Talking of which, we do have merchandise available. There's a link in the description. That's been Finn. I've been Jay. This has been Academy Review. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And thanks for watching.